Jurgen, good afternoon. It's Mark from Sky. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Oh, sorry.
Jurgen, let's start with a football question. A huge game at the weekend. Liverpool against Chelsea. It's two of the most exciting teams in the Premier League at the moment. Liverpool, Chelsea, Van Dijk, Lukaku, yourself against Tuchel. In terms of the match, how much could this be an early sign of intent for the title? And what are you expecting in terms of the type of game?
I expect a very difficult game for both teams. I don't think there's an easy way through any line, and so both teams are very good organized. Will be, I'm pretty sure, and so it will be a big fight, definitely. And yeah, I can imagine. Again, it's one of these games I would watch 100% if I would not be involved. So you have to. It's pretty much a must-watch game if you want. Chelsea obviously in a really good moment, won the Champions League with the last club competition or club game last season. Played an incredible, last half of the season. Since Thomas was in, really developed in the right direction. So brought now Lukaku in, which doesn't make them worse, obviously. And so yeah, is a tough opponent, but we are actually not in the worst moment as well, and hopefully we can show that.
In terms of the transfer window, there's 4 days left now. When you look at your rivals, the likes of Manchester City, who have spent 100 million on Jack Grealish. You look at Chelsea, who you've touched upon there, and Lukaku, who they spent £97.5 million on. Liverpool haven't done that much business in that kind of market. Are you expecting a busy 4 days? And how does that business that those clubs have done change the dynamic of the title race?
Do I expect a busy 4 days for us? Not really. To be 100% honest. But you never know. That's how it is. But how much does it change? Yes, the options, I think, didn't get worse for some teams. That's clear. But in the end, I said it a couple of times before, there are so many different reasons to win a football game and so many different ways to win a football game. And it's not all about bringing in new players and all this kind of stuff. Again, it's a little bit disappointing that I always have to mention that, but we brought in Ibu Konate. It was not a bargain or whatever. It cost money as well. But yes, all these offensive attacking players other clubs are signing. That's obviously something they thought they need, and they had the resources to do it. That's the situation. But we will not take that or use that as any kind of excuse in any kind of game. We will just go for it with all we have. We have other things we can build on. We are together for a while already. We are in this specific case now we play at home. That must be an advantage, and these kind of things. So look, I have really no time to look at other clubs. Of course, I get to see the news and all that stuff when they sign a player, but I really have no time to think then how can they line up, what can they do. When we play them, we think about that, and I think that's enough.
And one final question from me, Jurgen. You've touched upon the attacking options for other teams in the Premier League. Of course, you can't do anything about it, but there must be one part of you that is watching quite closely the Manchester City situation and their potential move for Cristiano Ronaldo. It's very rare you get the opportunity to sign one of the greatest players in the world, and that deal seems to be getting closer. How much would that be exciting as a football man like yourself to see him in the Premier League, in English football, and how that would change the whole kind of repertoire at the top of the Premier League? Because this season it seems to be so exciting.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Cristiano. I watched that like a football supporter. Actually, I have not more knowledge about it. Probably you have much more knowledge about it, if it will happen or not, than I have. But again, it's not about me to judge that or whatever. It's just if other clubs can do things like this. It's not obviously not a business for the future. I say in 3-4 years we will have then the benefit of that. It's for now and immediately, if that happens, and that's how some clubs are obviously working, and that's absolutely fine. But there must be different ways. There must be a team a year later and 2 years for us is at least, and 3 years later as well, and all this kind of stuff. You need success. It's really nice if we felt that if you can win trophies, it's great. But it's not even with the best squad in the world. It's not every year possible. And if that's not possible, you still need to make sure that you develop as a team, as a club, that you use these kind of things. And that's what we did, and that's what we do. And anything else, or all the rest, is really not in our hands. And we watch it like all of you, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. We'll go to Damien Johnson from Premier League Productions. Damien.
Afternoon, Jurgen. We hear that Andy Robertson has returned to fitness, and how much of a battle does he face to get back in the team if he's in your thoughts for this weekend?
There's no battle, because the players don't battle each other. That's about who is in which shape, who is playing the position in which way. So first and foremost, I'm more than pleased and really happy how Costas performed now in the last 2 games. Actually, in the whole preseason, it was a big step for him. Had a tough first year at Liverpool. I told him that. Nothing was intentional or planned, and thought, let's bring in a Greek player and don't play him a whole year. The problem what we had obviously is, first Costas had to adapt, was then injured, got COVID, all these kind of things. And then our defense line had to get changed pretty much every week. And then bringing in a left back who didn't play before a lot, it would have been just really difficult. So, and now he's in the best moment, obviously, since he's here. That's one thing. And it's great. And we have a long season ahead. But for this game, there's no reason. Robbo is not now in training since yesterday. He was in training early enough to be in the squad last week. So nobody would ever, and especially not in that situation, rush Robbo back. So there's no need about that for that. But it's not that we now open the race and say, okay, Robbo, whatever you did in the last few years, I don't care. And now Costas is there. We have 2 left back. That was always really good left backs. That was always the idea, to have that, because a very special position, and Millie had to play it more often than he wanted. That obviously is much better when you have the really good options. But Robbo is played before he got injured. An incredible season the year before, was maybe the best player for Scotland at the Euros. We all should not forget that. I don't forget it. It doesn't mean he can now, from now on, can play like he wants, but he never did. He never did. He's an animal. He works incredibly hard. So having these 2 options is absolutely great, and both will have their games for sure this year, if there are no injuries, which I don't hope. But there's nothing bad to say in that. But a battle is the wrong word for it, because I just don't like when players have to battle for a position. Players have to train as good as they can. They have to give me the opportunity to make a decision if they should be in the lineup for the weekend, or on the bench for the weekend, or whatever. And that's the job the boys have to do. The rest they have no influence on, because these are my decisions.
I know you won't be drawn on transfer speculation, but do you feel there's still a bit of a gap in your midfield with the departure of Wijnaldum, or do you feel it's covered by the emergence of the likes of Curtis Jones and so on?
It must be a reflex. So of course, Gini Wijnaldum played for us an incredible amount of games. Absolutely great player, top player. I watched him now at Paris once or twice in some games, and so it's really like, yeah, that's Gini. Even when we prepare the opponent like Chelsea, and we have look in our games against Chelsea, we always see Gini running around there. It's absolutely. We still have to get used to that. He's not only on the pitch we miss him in the dressing room really as well. So great. But the reflex is we lose a midfielder and we don't bring anybody in. There must be and now we can count our midfielders. So if there's an area on the pitch where we really have all the different skill sets, all the different dynamic, creativity, defensive orientated, offensive orientated, all these kind of things, there is no gap. it's not that we bring in another one, and then again we have players here which with great skills. And last weekend doesn't mean that Harvey is now the savior of our midfield problem, because we don't have one. But Harvey, obviously, if Ginny is still here, Harvey wouldn't have played probably this game. So now he played, and he played well. Great. I knew before that there's a good chance that he plays well, but he did. So, and we have others as well. Curtis Jones is 20 years old, played, I don't know, 15, 20 games last year. He can make and will make and has to make the next step. Navigator obviously didn't play full season so far in exactly how he expects that, or we could have expected it. But he had always really good games, big games where we won when he started. Now he started the season twice. So would he have played if Ginny's still here? I don't know, obviously, but maybe not. So, and this is all this, and then we have Thiago, who didn't start yet the game. We have Hendo, who played only one of the games. We have Oxlade-Chamberlain, but the dynamic you cannot buy in the moment if you want to buy a midfielder. So these things, and probably I forgot one, Fabinho, of course. So that's the situation. And there is no need to buy a midfielder because somebody is on the market. I cannot help you, unfortunately, because obviously you're very interested in that. And I can, in this case, very, very sadly not help the supporters who wants us to sign a player just to get somebody in and feel then, for the moment, now we did our business as well. Now we should be ready. Whatever, if you're really with us and really think about it, you will realize there's no real need. And if the one player who is really the one who could improve all the things we spoke now about, we would go for it. I promise. If we would see him.
Thank you, Damien. Because we've got quite a few for the open, we'll probably just limit it to one unless there's a desperate need for a follow-up. So just before you start, James, in order, we'll go James from TalkSport, Carl from BBC Merseyside, Kieran Cannon from AFP, and finish with Mark Ogden from ESPN before we go to the embargo section. So James, first of all, from TalkSport.
Jurgen, Arsene Wenger was at the training ground this week, and you once described his football as like an orchestra and yours like heavy metal. How would you describe Thomas Tuchel's style of football?
I'm not too much in music, so probably that's why I choose these two, for me at least, very far apart music styles, if you want. So I cannot find now something in between. But what Thomas did at Chelsea is absolutely exceptional, I have to say. I was never in doubt about it, that he will have a massive impact there, that it will go that quick. I think not even he would have expected that exactly. But he won last night the I think European Coach of the Year, and absolutely deserved. Nobody had a bigger impact last season than he had. Really deserved. And so the combination, I said it before, of financial wealth and football knowledge is always a threat for all of us. That's how it is. And so what they are doing is really good. No doubt about that. Thomas is an exceptional manager and coach. And so all my respect.
Okay, thank you, James. We go to Carl from the BBC.
Hi, Jurgen.
Hi.
I was talking to Harvey Elliott's coach when he was at QPR at the age of 10 and 11 the other day, and he was saying that he was always first in training. He had a great attitude, great work ethic. And he also mentioned how he got fit ahead of this pre-season as well. Those early years, how crucial are they in the development of a player, especially how good he is now as well already?
Incredibly important, but I can tell you that you will not find a lot of Premier League players where the youth coaches don't tell similar stories about them in that age group, because we don't have a lot of late developers. Let me say like this, these kids are pretty early the best in their team. When you're the best, that's how it is with young boys, girls, kids in general. You're good in something, and when you really feel the passion for something, then you want to do more of it. So, and obviously Harvey did that, because Harvey is the opposite of a late developer, is a very, very early developer. So he was early ready to play adult football, obviously already with 16 at Fulham. And Fulham was for sure not in a situation where you thought, okay, come on, let's bring the kids. So it's just because Scott Parker probably that time saw in training, yeah, he could help. and now he's 18. And I thought last week, oh yeah, he will help in that game, and that's why we took the decision. So the early years are incredibly important, absolutely, but especially my generation had to develop without great coaches. Let me say it like this, because we didn't have academies and stuff like this, so we were really good coaches where we could focus and concentrate early on football training, get more and more knowledge about the game. All these great players from your past, from my past, they all got coached by the mailman or the butcher of the village or the area of the town where you are from, just people who took the time for it. So yes, he is a great player, and thank God he is. And all the youth coaches he had, all the coaches he had so far, had their hand in that. And especially last year, I think in the championship, everybody who worked there with him did an exceptional job, because he made a big step last year. I was not sure about that before. When you go with 17 years old, you have to play championship, probably the hardest second division in the world. You have to play there, and then you make such a big step, play the amount of games he played. That showed he's not only a football talent, he seems to be a physical talent as well, that he's robust enough for all the challenges out there.
Thank you, Carl. Last two questions. We'll go to Kieran from AFP, we'll finish with Mark. For the embargo section, it's been a pretty comprehensive press. If you want to start putting your hands up now, I won't be able to take everybody's question, but at least if you stick your hands up, I'll try and promote a couple of you in. Kieran.
Hi, Jurgen.
Hi,
you
Kieran.
touched on the issue with the internationals, the South American internationals last week, with FIFA extending the dates. Can I get your reaction to the news this week that the Premier League clubs won't be releasing players that are due to go to red list countries, and can you confirm that your players affected won't be travelling unless there's a last minute exemption?
I think I can confirm that, because there's no chance really for it. So the situation is like that. And look, the international breaks, so when players have to go on international duty, for the club manager, it's never great. It's never think, oh my God, great, I have a few days off or whatever. So it's, oh my God, they have to travel a lot, but we'll come back late and all these kind of things. But we still always do it. We never moan, we never discuss it, or whatever. Just players, here's international duty, so here we go. The players want it, and we are completely fine with it. In this case, obviously, it's different, because England has different rules. And the rules in England are, if you come back from a red list country, you have to quarantine 10 days in a hotel, not a hotel of your choice, no, in a hotel which somebody tells you where it is, next to the airport or whatever, and it's not even close to be a spa hotel or whatever. It's eating and waiting and sleeping and stuff like this. And as the clubs, we cannot do that. Not only because we play games in that time when they come back, but they lose, obviously, without being positive. To say, without being positive, they lose 10 days of training. In 10 days, you can ask whoever you want, doctor, a sports science person, without any chance of moving, you lose muscle. That's how it is. You as an atrophy. I'm not sure if the right English word, and I don't know the German word, but you lose muscle. And then you come back, that's not only 10 days, then it's again, you have to start training, you have to do different stuff. And it's a real risk for the boys then if they have to play then 3, 4, 5 days after 10 days quarantine immediately again football. And so that's the problem we had. And we were not, it's not that we said that we do it like this. It's just the government, number 10, didn't give an exemption for football players, even when they are fully vaccinated. So, and then the situation is like it is. We cannot change it, but of course then the players can't go.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. Final question in the open goes to Mark, and we'll go to an embargo after this. Mark.
Hi, Jurgen. Just to add to what you were suggesting before about some clubs work on the immediate and other clubs plan for the 3 or 4 years in terms of making signings. Do you feel we're now in an era whereby the commercial value of a player becomes as important to some clubs as the actual value on a pitch? And in that sense, if you were ever offered Messi or Ronaldo, would you take it on the basis of what they could add to the team on the pitch, or would you feel that there's a commercial element to it as well?
First and foremost, I think with Messi and Ronaldo especially, I think there might be a commercial aspect of it, of course, but don't think that PSG brought Messi in because of the commercial, but maybe yes, I don't know. They brought him in because Messi still have a lot to give for the football team. That's it. And if Cristiano comes to the Premier League, I think that's the first intention as well in that case. But nobody came to me so far. I never had to make a commercial signing, whatever that means exactly. Nobody asked me for that. And if somebody would come, I would start thinking probably, but so far it never happened.
Okay, thank you, Mark. We'll go to the embargo section. We've got Chris Baskin to kick us off in that. Just bear with me a second so I can make it clear that everything now is under an embargo until 10:30 p.m. tonight. That's 10:30 p.m. tonight, Friday the 27th of August, if you're